What is going on, everybody? I know why you're here. You know why you're here. We all know why you're here. That's for some top-notch fantasy football content. And us guys at the Fantasy Council, we're gonna bring it to you. Miles, Rob, how we doing?
Doing great, man. Couldn't be happier.
Doing good. Just finished up a nice week too. Some cool games. I'm doing good.
Yes, sir. Love to hear. We're gonna do some week two takeaways. And Miles, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I'll kick us off here. I'd say my biggest takeaway from the first couple weeks, and I was really interested to see week two, as far as this takeaway, is the Rams are actually looking pretty good. I mean, they're going to be some startable players on this offense. I thought when Cup was going to be out for the first 4 weeks, really weren't going to be starting anyone except Higbee if you punted tight end. I didn't really see it. Maybe Van Jefferson, desperation flex play, but we've seen some big performances from Puka Nakua. I mean, hey, guy's legit. Most catches by rookie through 2 games, 25, 15 catches in the game against the 49ers, which is the most as a rookie.
It's ridiculous.
And Tutu Atwell quietly had 13 receptions for 196 yards for the first 2 games too. So, I mean, the passing game looks solid even without Cup. And Kyron Williams, I really think is a league winner at this point. I mean, it's a little early to say that, but getting a guy that could give you RB2 or RB1 numbers. I mean, he put up like 25 points or so.
Pretty sure he had 10 targets last week too.
10 targets, yeah. 25 points
crazy.
Roughly against the Niners defense, which I thought was really impressive to see the Rams after they smoked the Seahawks to put in a solid performance against the Niners. So I think they actually look pretty solid.
Yeah, just add on a little bit to when Cup is back, and everyone's a little concerned about Puka's kind of usage. Cup played last year in his 8 games, I think 56% of the snaps, or 59% actually, from the slot. And Puka actually, through the first 2 weeks, hasn't really played much of the slot. He's been everywhere-ish, but 67% of his snaps have been on the outside. So he's not really in that Cup role that a lot of casuals think he is. He's actually kind of in his own role. So when Cup's back, I wouldn't expect Nakua's usage to go down too much. Obviously, like normal regression, he's not going to have 23 targets every week, or through 2 weeks. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I feel like we might see Tutu Atwell take more damage from Cup's return than Puka. Yeah,
he'll probably be the odd man out for sure. All right, Rob, what's your first takeaway?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about a little something that it's been on my mind honestly all off season. It's kind of the backfield situation in Pittsburgh between Najee and Jaylen Warren. It's kind of a glaring issue at this point. If you drafted Najee, I don't think it's looking too good right now.
Not at all.
Jaylen Warren is just looking like the more explosive guy, just straight up. If you're watching the games, when Jaylen Warren's touching the ball, you could expect something to happen. Najee he looks slow. He looks, his cuts aren't quick. He's not making guys miss. Jaylen Warren makes a lot of guys miss. And then the receiving game, Jaylen Warren in week 2 was tied for not tied. He was number 2 on the Steelers in both targets and receiving yards in week 2. So he's getting a lot more usage as a receiver than Najee is. I think Najee had a catch for 0 yards last week, and that was it. But at this point, I don't think it's crazy at all to say that I would rather have Jaylen Warren on my team than Najee Harris straight up. And if there's still managers in your league that don't realize that Jaylen Warren could end up taking a big piece of this backfield, honestly, I think he could be by later in the season. I think he could be getting the lion's share of touches both as a receiver and a runner in this backfield. And I'm kind of all in on Jaylen Warren. I mean, listen, the offense isn't great, but Jaylen Warren, I think, could definitely be a workhorse back or similar to one, taking a lot of the touches away from Najee because when he's getting the ball, he's not efficient and he's not helping the Steelers win. I think Jaylen Warren could end up taking a lot of his work.
No, yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I thought every time Warren touches the ball, you get excited. He just looks like he's going to make a play. And Najee, even on the couple 10, 15-yard runs he had against the Browns, just looked like he was running in quicksand. Like, it just, I don't know, just wasn't fun to watch from Najee.
Yeah, 100%. You can just see there's a difference when Warren's on the field compared to what Najee is. And, I couldn't agree more.
If I
My
have to
first,
say real quick, I think Jalen Warren kind of reminds me a little bit, like just the way he plays and how they use him. He kind of reminds me of Austin Eckler a little bit. It's just kind of something about him. I'm not saying he's as good as Eckler or anything, but it's kind of a small guy, good receiving back, sure hands. He's quick to get upfield after he catches the ball. Just reminds me a lot of Eckler.
For sure.
yeah, definitely. I see it too. I think even Eckler, pre-Eckler, you kind of had the same thought, like, could this be consistent? And it was. I mean, you saw it. You see it now still. So, yeah, I couldn't agree more. All right, my first takeaway, I'm just talking about two running backs that I'm just loving what I see. And the first one is an obvious guy, first round pick in most leagues, but Bijan Robinson has looked the part and more, in my opinion. I mean, 180 rushing yards is second in the league right now. It's only McCaffrey. He's leading all running backs in receptions, and he's doing that only playing around 60% of snaps. And obviously, he's kind of sharing with Algier, but I mean, we can all see when he's playing. Like, he averaged, I think, like 7 yards a carry last week, and Algier averaged like 3. Like, you can just see the difference. Bijan's a locked-in stud. I mean, I think he's the most talented running back in the NFL, and he's my RB2 going forward for McCaffrey. Huge fan. Obvious takeaway. And my second one, running back James Cook of the Bills, 59% snap share through 2 weeks, or last week, I think. Sorry. Well, last week he had 21 touches, 17 carries for 123 yards, 4 catches for 36 yards. I mean, dude is just playing nuts, like locked in. He's a huge part of their offense because they're kind of trying to find a guy besides Diggs, and Kincaid's there, but it definitely looks to be like Cook is heavily involved in this offense. 10 targets through 2 weeks, tied for third among all running backs. James Cook just looks so explosive, so talented. The Bills want to give him the ball. This isn't a buy low video, but James Cook is just that guy. He's going to be an RB1 going for the rest of the year, and that's my first takeaway.
No, yeah, I definitely like that. I'll let Rob talk a little bit about Bijan because I know he's a big fan. Rob, what do you have to say about Chris's takeaways?
I mean, a lot of my friends and such have been calling me a Bijan Glazer. I mean, I had Bijan as my RB1 coming into the season. I think the prediction is looking pretty good right now. I mean, obviously McCaffrey is literally playing 100% of snaps in the 49ers backfield, so you kind of have to have him at RB2. But I think just the way that Bijan looks, a couple weeks down the line, we can be talking about more of a 1A, 1B situation between McCaffrey and Bijan rather than just a 1 and 2. But yeah, I'm in love with Bijan as a football player. I think he looks like the best running back in the league. I really do. And he's only played 2 games. There's so much more room to grow.
Dude, and if he saw all the work for that backfield or got his share up to 70, 80%, like some of the other workhorses in the league, bro, he'd average 30 points per game easily. I think it's pretty insane what he's done so far.
Doesn't even have a rushing touchdown yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on that note, I'll hop into my second takeaway if you guys don't have anything more to say on that.
Good.
Yeah, I do want to just say real quick, that one run he had where he had like 3 jukes in a row was just, I mean,
he's gross.
It's so smooth, yeah, so smooth.
Yeah, but go to you, Miles. Go for it.
All right, so my second biggest takeaway is that Deshaun Watson is not the same player he was for the Texans. I think a lot of his poor play at the end of last season, we were kind of thinking like, oh, he hasn't played football in a while, and he'll get back to where he was after a full off season, of learning the playbook, getting back into game playing shape. But he just has not looked the part. I mean, he's averaging a 55.1% completion rate and a 69.1 QB rating through the first 2 weeks, while throwing 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I mean, he has a little bit of rushing upside. He had a rushing touchdown week 1, but not enough for me to see him finishing top 10 at the QB position. Like he was mostly drafted around that QB 10 spot, which I really would not be comfortable with him or having him finishing in that area at all. And then obviously the Chubb injury for the Browns is a big blow for that offense as a whole. I mean, that was a gruesome injury. Really tough to see. Prayers up for Nick Chubb, but I think potentially that could lead to an uptick in the passing game, maybe more passing work for Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore going forward. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
All right, Rob, you can hit it off first. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Deshaun Watson has honestly, Deshaun Watson's looked not great. I mean, he had the bad weather game week 1, kind of give him a pass, and then play a solid Pittsburgh defense, but he doesn't look like as much of a playmaker as he did in Houston. He's not improvising, using his legs as much, extending plays.
Mm.
Um, you know, um, I kind of agree. I think Deshaun Watson's kind of slipped out of my top 10 QBs. I had him around 9, 10 before the season started, expecting kind of maybe not a full return to Texans form, but maybe like 85, 90% of it, which would have been pretty good either way.
For sure.
And right now, it looks like we're getting 60% of Deshaun Watson, or maybe less. He doesn't look as good, and I feel for the Browns paying so much for that guy and spending so much money on him. But it's a little early to say. Still, things can change, but it's looking like a little bit of an overpay.
Yeah, I mean, on the Texans, he never had a season where he wasn't top 5. He was like number 2 in QBR, NFL history, just from a football standpoint. But I think one of the biggest things that like kind of gets forgotten about is like just the offense he's in. Like obviously Stefanski was more run based. He said he was going to switch it up this offseason, but it's not that spread offense that Deshaun was really a part of in Houston, where he excelled, where he kind of knew what he was doing. It was great for fantasy, obviously. So I think that's just a huge thing that kind of gets forgotten about. And yeah, he has his rushing upside. Chubb's gone; they'll probably pass more, but I don't see a QB1 really path for him unless he really kind of turns it on, and we see something different than what we've seen so far.
For sure, yeah.
All right, Rob, what you got? What's your second takeaway?
All right, I'm going to kick us off here with a little bad offense report. I just kind of wanted to bring to light some of the offenses that kind of lack touchdown upside for all the weapons involved in the offense, whether it be due to bad QB play, a line that can't hold up, a young quarterback, whatever it may be. But just want to start it off with Washington. Sam Howell kind of looks not great. I mean, he finished off the Broncos game pretty strong, but fantasy options in that offense are very limited to Brian Robinson, who looks pretty good. He's getting a lot of work. He looks like a workhorse in a bad offense, which you'll take. And Terry McLaurin, who I would not recommend locking him in as a wide receiver 2 in your lineup. I think he's more of a weekly, flex play kind of matchup based. In one flex league, it's kind of even uncomfortable to have him in your flex spot. So with that, I'll move on to the Titans real quick, who Derrick Henry is obviously Derrick Henry. He's still a workhorse. He's still a workhorse. I mean, he doesn't look as explosive as he did, but he's still good. He's getting plenty of rushes, and even as he's catching some passes out of the backfield, some screen plays, which is a little encouraging. And then D-Hop, who's getting the lion's share of the target in that offense. I think D-Hop you kind of have to flex him with the volume that he's seeing, even though it did fall a little bit in week 2. Steelers, who I just talked about before with Najee and Jaylen Warren. At this point, like I'm optimistic that Jaylen Warren will eventually be startable. I can't say it definitively right now. George Pickens had a big touchdown last week that kind of saved his week. He would have been sub 10 points last week had that play not happened, but I don't really know if anyone is super startable in the Steelers offense right now. Not a big fan. The Panthers look disgusting right now. The Panthers look horrible. I mean, listen, Bryce Young, first overall pick. I'm sure he's got a bright future, but through the first 2 weeks, hasn't looked good. So I would be very wary about starting anyone in that offense, with the exception of Miles Sanders if you really need a running back. Real quick, the Bears. Justin Fields looks like he's playing his way out of a job right now. He's playing away to I think he wants the Bears to draft Caleb Williams next April. He looks bad as a passer, really bad as a passer. I mean, DJ Moore had a nice week, but I don't think there's any way that you can consistently start him. I mean, he got a lot of targets last week, but it's the way that Fields is as a passer. I don't think he's reliable going forward. I mean, fine flex play on a semi-weekly basis, but there are no startable running backs in that offense right now. And I'll end it off here with the Broncos. Russell Wilson.
His name's Mr. Unlimited. You gotta be unlimited.
I don't really know what can be said. They're just boring to watch, the Broncos offense. They're just not fun to watch. I mean, they hit it off on a couple big plays last week, which is exciting, but for the most part, it's been kind of static. Russell Wilson's, aside from the 2 big plays last week, nothing really going on in week 1. Javonte Williams, I mean, I'm still optimistic, but he's not getting a lot of work as a receiver, so I don't want to say he's startable right now. I think he'll get eased in a little bit, get some more work as a receiver. And then, Jerry Jeudy had his first game back yesterday, but he wasn't too involved coming off the injury. So I think he'll eventually, hopefully, be a startable option for you. But just wanted to bring to light really quick these offenses that don't have touchdown upside for the most part. I mean, yeah, they score, but not nearly as much as some of the other offenses in the league. And just guys that, if you're starting a guy in this offense, you want to make sure the volume's there because the efficiency is pretty low in all these offenses, and the touchdown upside is, for the most part, not there.
Yeah.
Sure.
I agree all around. I think it's definitely a shame because a lot of the teams you mentioned, we were kind of hoping for better offensive years, for more fantasy production, more players that we could start, but it just didn't end up working out, or it doesn't look like it so far, at least.
No.
Yeah, I mean, those are some bad, some pretty shitty offenses. I'm gonna bring us over to a good one for my last takeaway. It's my favorite team, the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously, they had a huge night. A lot of the guys against the Eagles, as I predicted on Twitter. But they last year their second pass attempts, besides only the Chargers. They're obviously always in these late game scenarios, even last year, where they're just throwing the ball. Out on Madison, well, nothing to do with him. But as it comes to like the receiving options, Hawk is tight end 1 right now, easily tight end 2 in my opinion. I think he's a little bit significantly above Andrews still, coming off the injury from Andrews, but every week starter, locked in guy. Justin Jefferson is Justin Jefferson. I mean, we don't need to say that much about him. And Addison's been great. I mean, Thielen last year was I think second besides Jettas in routes run in the entire NFL. The Vikings pass a lot. Volume equals production. Love Addison as a flex play every week still too. So my main takeaway is just the Vikings are good. Throw the ball a lot. Start all Viking receivers. And Kirk too. Love Kirk. Locked in QB1 rest of the year. But you guys got anything else to add?
I mean, I agree. Yeah, definitely. It's a great offense that O'Connell's got over there. Great for fantasy, and yeah, like you said, start Justin Jefferson, obviously start Hockenson, and I think Addison is pretty safe flex play with a lot of upside at this point.
Yeah, I think Addison will keep eating into that KJ Osborne target share, so I think Addison will be nice too. But yeah, not much more to say. I mean, we all know they pass the hell out of the ball, and their pass catchers are going to be valuable in fantasy. So
100%. I think Addison's snapshot has gone up every week. Probably continue to do so. But that's been it. This week 2 takeaways from the Fantasy Council. Like, comment, subscribe, and peace.
Take care.
Peace.